Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. Joined with me tonight, as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
Hey, what's up?
Mr. Alan Robinson.
How you doing, fellas?
Joe Whittaker.
You're right, Tom, yeah.
And we're told the reason he looks like the Elephant Man is because he got eaten alive by bugs out hiking with Robin and Carl Jacobson. It's Jamie Page.
How you doing?
Posting pictures.
Cow.
I'm not in anymore.
If anyone doesn't know what on earth I'm talking about, it's definitely on his Facebook, probably on his Instagram. And if it's not, I'll post it on mine so everyone gets to see it. Excellent. So shout outs for this week. As always, we have got, if I try and find my list, the right page where we are. Me, first of all, because I managed to be the first person to comment on our YouTube video last week, just because, seems to be the thing to do, to comment first. We've got Wacky Woodworks, Jim Dockrell, The Redsmith, Anthony Tober, Norbury53, Andrew McQuillan, Shogun Jimi, A Young Man's Workshop, KSFWG, Ian Hay, and Ian Brody Smith. So big thank you, big shout out to all of those guys. Don't forget, we love it when you get in touch on all our social media, videos, podcasts, stuff. And you can rate us on iTunes as well. Chris, do we have any random listener questions from last week or before?
No, I had a question from one of the people who mentioned something on our YouTube channel last week, but I actually addressed it to him on the YouTube chat. So I don't have anything, for you this week. I apologize. But it's not really
So basically, yes, but you've sorted it, so it was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's cool. We'll head straight on then to our main topic. We've got a guest on, and I don't know if Jimmy has seen the comment he put on our last video, but I'm going to introduce Jimmy as some schmuck looking to get some free advertising. The reason for that is, and I genuinely hope that first and foremost Jimmy doesn't take offense to that, but if anyone actually reads through the comments, Jimmy posted on our last episode who was the guest for next week, and that was my reply. So never say something on the internet you wouldn't say to the guy's face. So Jimmy, hi. Yeah, good mate, good. I'm going to be kind of open and honest now, because I sort of took a bit of a risk there because I don't really know you that well. So genuinely, I hope I haven't just offended you and you're about to disappear and completely mess the show up now.
Not at all.
Alan, I'm kind of relying on you this week because I think you know Jimmy certainly a lot better than I do. So do you want to... Well, first off, Jimmy, just introduce yourself, and if nothing else, that'll help me out.
Yeah. I'm just. My name is James Jacob. I run the channel Shogun Jimi, and I just like to make stuff in my garage. It's pretty that simple.
It is simple. Jimmy and I have been pretty good friends for a long time now, but I'm going to open the show with the same way we do with every guest, because I actually don't know. You and I have never gone into your past. I know you do a lot of CNC work. You do that dreamstone carving. You do hand carving, sign making, lathe work, steel work. The list is endless, but where did it all begin for you? Take us back to the beginning.
I've been kind of knowing you were going to ask this question. I've been thinking about it a lot this week.
Oh, you didn't script it, did you?
No, not at all. I got like a few ideas. That's about it. It all really starts out with my dad. My dad was a construction carpenter. When I think about his background, you just look at a house and he could do pretty much everything inside the house, from the foundation up to the roof. There were definitely some things he didn't like to do, so he would avoid those if he could. And how I got involved is somewhere along the line is he ended up having like 6 houses or something like that. So he was a landlord, and every time someone would leave, there would be the cleanup crew. We'd go in and do carpets and painting and drywall or whatever it may be, new roof, whenever that came about. So basically from, very young age, from 10 to about 18 or 20, I was part of my dad's cleanup crew whenever anything would go wrong. So all the saws and the things that we do in makerdom, if you will, I was introduced from my dad. It was never like, here's the technique, this or that. It was always just how to be safe, and these are the simple cuts we're doing and stuff like that. So that would be like one phase of it, which would be like what I learned through my dad, which, you know, I honestly don't know at this point what he taught me. And then the second phase would be something a little more recent, is where I got really into philosophy. And it would be really weird to talk about something where it's all about the mind, if you will. But several philosophers really get into their hero, their man of the hour is the person who actually takes stuff and manipulates it to benefit mankind. And as far as I know, that's like the maker, you know, the person who goes forward and solves those problems that we deal with in our everyday existence. So I really fell in love with their concept of, they would call it like the artist, if you will, but to me, it's like the maker. And that was really where I really started wanting to get like, you know, a shop and together and get focused on what I'm doing. And then the last phase, if you will, was my introduction to YouTube. And that came through work, because when I got really frustrated at my job, I really wanted to be more self-reliant and capable of not having to rely on a 40-hour week job. And my friend was like, hey, you know, have you ever seen a CNC machine? And I was like, no. So I jump on YouTube. You know, I didn't know what YouTube was, but I definitely didn't know the maker community. And I started running into, you know, some CNC videos for sure. And then I ran into Jimmy DiResta and Steve Carmichael and, you know, Steve Ramsey and a lot of those guys, Carl Jacobson. And next thing you know, it was just like, you know, I'm going to buy a garage and start this and get moving. And it's been, you know, if you go look at my channel, you see my history of where I've started to where I'm at now. So I don't know if that was too long of a story for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because, I mean, Jimmy, I think I started following you almost, I think it was after like your third or fourth video. Somebody had mentioned it. It might have even been Alan. And I started following you.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of cool and interesting stuff, but you know what? I don't know that I know the answer to this question. So I'm going to ask you, go ahead. And it really doesn't have to matter, because we don't have to define ourselves, I suppose, but I'm curious as to whether I'm trying to get into your head. So that's the only reason why I'm asking this.
Sure.
Would you feel that you are more of a hand tools guy, a power tools guy, or are you more of like a pure hybrid kind of guy? Do you just kind of do whatever needs to be used gets used, and however the best way to do it gets done? I mean, I don't know, because you do a lot of both, actually.
Mm-hmm. I do have Mark Spagnola's book on hybrid woodworking, where it is between hand tools and power tools. I'm actually most impressed in my catalog of where I kind of didn't have a lathe, and I turned a pin without a lathe, you know, 5 or 6 months ahead of the no lathe challenge. And I did that all on my belt sander. You know, it was a very unique approach. I mean, it's my highest viewed video. And, you know, it was definitely like unconventional. And I'll try and do things deliberately different sometimes. Like, I need to get back to that a little bit more. So pretty much I'm opportunistic in where, you know, I have the project, I have like a plan, and I'm just going to go straight for it with the tools that I have. And whatever that may be at the moment is what I'm going to grab and go for. So I definitely have a huge respect for both power and hand tools. So
we've actually got questions already. They're coming flying in from the chat already. We've got one from Jim Bashirs and Redsmith. Both are very, very similar questions. Yeah. The Redsmith asked, where did your YouTube channel name come from? And Jim Bashir says, where did Shogun come from?
That came from like an alias when I was building a email address, and we're talking like 12 years ago when I first got on MSN or whatever it was and started my email address. And at that time, I was reading a book called Shogun from an English writer named James Clavell. And it was just one of those things where I was like fully into that story, and the Shogun in the story is just an absolute character, just crafty and tricky and just a lot of fun. So when I started writing my, you know, typing in for my email address, I just came up with Shogun _Jimi _James. And then over the time, joining Reddit and other things like that, I just shortened it down to Shogun Jimi. And tell you what, before I started my YouTube channel, I had like a good month of where I was trying to come up with some kind of woodworks, some kind of crafter kind of name or this or that. And after so long, my head split and I just said, screw it. I'm just sticking with Shogun Jimi, and the cards will fall where they're at. So that's kind of.
I'm glad you did. It's a good name, but we have another question I thought was interesting. It's from Valerie Mora. The name sounds pretty familiar there, Jimmy. She wants to know if you're an artist or a woodworker.
I am much more of an artist that deals with wood at this time. More than likely, I think in the future, my materials will change. I think Valerie out there knows that there's a possibility that I might go into metal, and I think she's quite afraid of that. So
I wonder why she would be afraid of it. If anybody wondering, Valerie is Jimmy's wife.
I was getting ready to say, like, oh, that's either kinky or I never mind. I won't go there.
I was thinking about stalker.
Matt Haas wants to know how he asked, do you shoot your videos with your camera? Is your camera your phone?
I have my old phone. It's not even my newest phone. It's my old phone that I shoot all my videos with. It's a Note 3. Okay. And it shoots great cameras. I got an S7, which should be better, and it's just dark and dim. And I like the Note 3 a lot better.
Oh, okay. He wanted to throw that out there. It's just probably just to let people know that you can do what you do with just your freaking phone, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Jim Bashir's is hilarious as usual. Jim just says, "How many of us on the panel and watching are just doing this because we're hiding from our wives that are expecting us to be doing something else?" Well, Jim,
I'm one of them.
I'm glad we gave you a closet to hide in, buddy.
I like the idea, the whole concept around the sort of the using whatever there is. I mean, you made reference to your no lathe pen, and you made reference to the kind of the philosophy and the mindset of that, and obviously that goes all the way back to your channel name and you as an individual. And I was going to say at the time, when you mentioned about trying to think of a name that was woodworking related, workshop related, and you just kind of went, oh, screw it, I'll use what I've got. Yeah. I think that, as Alan's already said, that works so well for so many people. And it's almost, I mean, I did virtually the same thing. You go through this huge long list of, woodwork, workshop, make, this, that, and the other. When you actually look at all the names, and I'm not picking at people who have workshop or woodwork in their business name, channel name, whatever. It does help things stand out a bit. And I mean, I said right from the start, I don't really know you.
Yeah.
But as we're talking, I've suddenly realized that, I remember that pen that you videoed with the belt sander. And I remembered, other things that you were talking about. It makes you stand out really quite well. And that's a positive thing for anyone to think about. If anyone's listening, thinking, getting into it, and blah, blah, blah. And you talk about using your phone as well. And that it kind of almost encompasses you a bit, I think, which is great. It wasn't a question. It was more a compliment and a comment.
Yeah. One of the other things that really make me stand out, and this is kind of how I met Alan, is he opened up a Q&A where we could do a video exchange. He was like, if you do a video question, I'll give you the video answer. And I made this giant mallet out of a 2x12, and I asked him what he'd smash with it. And now pretty much I've had it several times from several different people. I'm known as the mallet guy. So I'm actually going to, here in the next month, I'm going to take that to the next level. I'm really big into Mortal Kombat. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a Mortal Kombat Wrath hammer, and the dimensions on it now are 12 inches by 6 inches round. And it's all made out of Purdue. And I'm kind of running into a dilemma right now where I'm going to end up doing the handle. I have a lathe, but it's the mini lathe. So now I got to figure out how to take a mini lathe and turn a 36-inch handle on it. So that should be coming up here soon. I do have a strategy, but I've been very nervous to kind of approach it. So we're kind of heading into mallet land. It's going to be a blast.
Well,
I don't know whether to ask you what that strategy is or not.
I nearly did, and I held back because my brain would be go and buy the extension for the bed and just turn it all in one go. But that's not you. That's not what you're going to do, I suspect.
Yeah,
I actually know what his plan is.
And believe me, my first plan is to go buy the extension, but my wife has adamantly said no. So I'm kind of like, I'm at that front where it's going to happen the oddball way, and I think I should do it that way at this point.
Well, it's going to be brilliant, though.
Yeah, it is. But it just kind of scares me that Jamie knows what it is, and he had that chuckle afterwards. I don't know how to take that. I really don't.
And I think Joe's seen a preview of the mallet head because I'm using milliput on it. I send Joe a message almost every time I do a milliput project. Yeah. So
I love seeing what you get up to with that milliput, though. But that hammer, I can't wait to see it. I mean, 12 inches by 6 inches around. That's great dimensions. I mean, as I know myself. But what? Where?
God, that took me a second.
I knew that was coming.
I left it far too long. I know I did. I thought I got to get it in. But anyway, where do you actually get your inspiration from?
You never disappoint, Joe. You never disappoint. Unreal.
No, but
so, Jimmy,
honestly,
how long have you been into CNCs, Jimmy?
Like I said, I studied them about 2 years ago, where I was really, really into it. And I mean, that was going to be the first and only tool I was going to buy and really get into it. And then for some reason, I started watching like Paul Sellers, who's really big in the hand tools. And I started really watching that stuff. And I was like, I think I could really make whatever it is that I can with hand tools, and I don't need the CNC. And I was dead set at one point or another where I quit even studying them. I quit watching videos about them. And then you guys all know Tim Sway. If you guys saw Tim buy his CNC, just the few things he said in his video where he approached it, I mean, it just struck a chord with me. I think I bought it within this first like week or two that he bought his or got his CNC. So, I mean, it just rekindled that kind of idea of what I could do with the CNC from Tim Sway. And
yeah, Tim's a real inspiration that way. He has a way of spinning things that makes things make sense because Tim's a pretty level-headed guy.
Yeah. And this is how much I actually really like Tim Sway is in my shop. I have one hand-drawn, handwritten Tim Sway sticker in my shop. There's no other sticker in there made that way in my entire shop. So Tim Sway is a big inspiration influence for me, for sure.
And you've got a lot of stickers now, haven't you?
I have a stack this big that I haven't put up yet.
You was actually always known as kind of like the collab guy. Couldn't you kind of go on a collaboration with someone with a big lathe to do the help with the handle?
There's actually a few people local that I could join in with, but I'm going to just do it the oddball way. There's a few people.
Send it off to Piqua.
Well, that would be the Canadian shipping that I'd have to pay, and that's expensive.
Oh no!
How did you actually become, let's say, the collab guy? Because that's kind of how you got known, to be honest.
Actually, Alan's part of the story. What happened is the day one that I really wanted to collab with anyone, I asked Eloy first, and we just didn't have an idea. And then Mike from Kinderhook joined in and had a great idea about some nunchucks. And that happened. And then that happened, and I thought it was pretty much over, didn't care much about it. And then I'm at the Comic-Con here in Denver, and we're talking, 2,000 nerds dressed in cosplay. It was just insane. My head is just wrapped around that, and then my phone just starts chiming off the hook. And I mean, like, you've all chatted with Alan when he's hyper and active, if you will. And it was like, I got this great idea for a collab. Let's do this. This is great. And then, next thing you know, I'm in a collab with Alan within like an hour, And then after that, I did a shout out video to Eloy, and I said all he could do was skulls. And then next thing you know, it was him. And then I've just started bouncing from one group to the next.
He basically became known as like the challenge guy. And then you and I ended up in a collab, didn't we? What was that collab about again?
Are you talking about Trash Talking Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We each made videos claiming we were each the better editor. We were just having a lot of fun with it and just doing our thing on YouTube. And I lost 100 subscribers in one day over that collab. So what happened there?
I was just going to say, you said Eloy. Eloy who? What?
Eloy Escajado was involved. I think he lost. Yeah, he lost some subscribers from that too.
I gained subscribers, so let's do it again.
That was like the funnest collab I've ever been in, even though I lost 100.
Jimmy, that's the prime line for you to go. You see, guys, the cream rises to the top. That's just.
No, I didn't regret it one bit, Jimmy. That was probably one of the funnest videos I ever made, even though I had to take it down.
It was like 4 days of pure laughing behind the scenes before that even hit the air, and it was just a riot all the way along.
Oh no! Who left the door open? Oh, Eloy, what are you doing?
No, dude, I just got really
Do you
pissed
know where you
off.
are right now?
No, I got really pissed off when I heard about the subscriber counts with my channel was ruined because of Jimmy's freaking collabs, man.
So
I've had enough.
You basically kind of ruined our channels.
That's what
I
I'm
had to
here
start
for.
a second channel, and
Ladies and gentlemen, Eloy Escajado has just joined us. How you doing, man?
somebody left the door open for him.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah. Don't blame me. I left the dog open for his dog.
Oh.
So is this going to be like another 20 minutes of bashing Alan then, is it? Or...
We could do that. Let's have a beard shaving challenge. You got Eloy, we got Jimmy, we got Alan. Let's think about something.
Yeah, I forgot about that one, Jimmy. And another collab, I had to shave my head because of you. I'm just wondering what's next.
What about the mullet?
I think a mallet collab. It would be great. You guys all three make a mallet, and then whoever loses has to shave their beard.
Yeah.
I'm not
That
shaving
sounds
my
like-
beard for
That sounds
I'm
like
not
a
shaving my
grand
beard
idea.
for anything.
I'm not doing that.
There's
I think
no
you should
amount of
scroll saw
subscribers.
something.
Yeah. Speaking of the skull saw, we've actually got a question from Johnson Christensen over at Facebook.
Okay.
Why is Jimmy so sexy?
That's a good question, Jimmy.
Eloy, maybe you can answer that.
Why is he so? Because he has. Why is he so sexy? I'm trying, dude. I'm trying here. Next.
I couldn't answer that myself, so let's move on.
I wanted to ask you about the CNC side of things.
Sure.
Perhaps this potentially might be of interest to Joe as well, because I know Joe's also got a CNC like myself. First of all, which CNC have you got? Because it's not the sort of the X-Carve that many of us have got, is it?
I bought the my CNC from Rockler. It's a Shark is what it's called.
Right.
But it's a very sturdy framed CNC. I saw the X-Carves and I saw a lot of the early generations get those for free, and they definitely piqued my interest. But then I started seeing a lot of videos where they weren't using them afterwards, and I saw that I thought there was a lot of problems with them, so I ended up sticking with the Shark, and that's the one that I really researched when I first got into it. I don't know. CNC it's a weird double-edged sword, because a lot of people think it's like the easiest thing in the world, but the programming is such a headache to learn. If things actually go right and work, it's a very beautiful process and machine. But there is a time where it is absolutely, when it goes wrong in the weirdest way that you got to deal with. I made a CNC sign on my channel for Mike Zerker, and I made a ring, and that was just, I kid you not, like a millimeter too big on the roundness, and I had to fiddle with that to get that to fit right into the inlay. And I mean, it's just a headache.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I would definitely agree with that. When something goes right, it's amazing. But sometimes to get to that point where it goes right, there are 20 different steps, of which the solution to each step takes 20 tries to get to then progress. It can be very. I mean, Joe, feel free to dive in here and sort of agree or disagree and with your.
Yeah, I have the exact same kind of issues. I always see using the CNC. It's like you were saying, being a double-edged sword. You've got the actual process of the cut itself is obviously taken out of your hands, and the CNC does all that. But everything prior to that point is just like one big headache. It's the planning of the project, getting it designed, making it suitable to be cut on the CNC, getting it all lined up with your material. I mean, that goes back to kind of saying that you're more of an artist than a woodworker. It's another medium. It's another method to create your art. So if you haven't got that original idea, the CNC is useless, basically. You've got to give it your personal touch or it won't do anything. It'll just sit there. So...
Sure. I mean, most of the videos that I've seen that you've done CNC-wise have been like the sign that you did recently and took to Atlanta. And I think part of that Atlanta video that I made reference to, the pile of the sticker, that's the one. Yeah, the not a real Shogun with the milliput. So calm down, Joe. It's only milliput.
Only?
Yes, only. But there is terracotta. Milliput in there, so you're being shown up a bit there, Joe. There is other than black. So I saw both that sign and the one that you did with the ring and the offset sort of interlocking logo. I haven't seen, and this is because I haven't been through every single one of your videos, admittedly, but I haven't seen any where you've sort of built something like a box or a physical item with CNC. Have you done that sort of stuff as well?
My very first video with the CNC is again with Tim Sway. He did Boycott Black Friday. I did Cyber Monday, and I followed along with his puzzle, and I made a box for my wife.
Right.
So that was my first. I think that's 2.5D kind of architecture, if you will.
Yeah,
and I do want to get back to some of that more. I have a collab idea with Alan coming up maybe later this summer with an idea where I take that a lot further. I would really have to sit down and hash that one out because that one will be a big challenge. And if you guys go back and see our pirate collab last year, you'll probably have an idea of what I'm aiming at. And that's all I want to say on that one. So
that's really intriguing. If anyone's listening, like, I'm picking these things up like I am, I'm really now intrigued in what.
So if you guys want to see another CNC project that I made, I got it right here.
Absolutely. Oh, wow.
No way.
Oh, that is awesome. Let me just click on that so it comes
That's
up
amazing.
online.
That's incredible.
For those that are listening to this,
he's holding up. Go ahead. He's holding up a Makers International logo of ours. And Jimmy, that is awesome. Thank you, man.
That's beautiful.
It's literally stunning. I don't even know what to say. That's just amazing.
Awesome.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It really is.
And,
wow.
Sorry, Joe. I actually just dyed the black. I wanted to try a different strategy.
That would have been a lot of million.
How much for the milliput?
One of these days, I'm going to talk you into making me a sign, buddy.
Now, why the hell don't one of us have the talent to make our own friggin' logo? We got to rely on Jimmy to do it.
It'll probably hang in my shop, guys. That's all I got to say. I've been a fan from your guys' episode 1, and I think I've listened to 95% of all of them. I very enjoy your guys' podcast.
There's actually a fan of yours on over on Twitter because they've just asked a question, and the question is actually boxers or briefs.
I think the answer, Jamie, is boxer briefs. Right in the middle.
And the actual person that asked the question on Twitter was me.
How many more ways can Jamie come up with to ask about your underwear?
Wait a minute. Okay, so wait a minute. He says boxers or briefs, and you go boxer briefs, and so I go, hand tools, power tools. You're hybrid. You're a hybrid dude, man. You're all the way right down the middle.
Part Shogun, part Jimmy.
Do you own a Prius as well?
No. No.
Do you own a Kia?
Okay. Actually, my favorite car that I own right now is a 78 Monte Carlo.
That's my boy. Yeah, I like that car.
So
nice car.
For those non-Americans listening, I have no idea either.
Google manufactured in 1978.
Google is worldwide. Type in 78 Monte Carlo, you'll see the car. Trust me, it's a cool looking car.
Going back to making, Jim Bashir's asked another question saying, "What do you prefer most, metal, wood, fabrication, or carving?"
I don't know. I kind of have to steal my answer from Jimmy DiResta. And the answer really comes where it's like my YouTube channel is becoming really my bigger project. I think each video and each project that I do is just but a chapter, but the channel itself is becoming the bigger scope of things, and it allows me to go in any direction that I want and desire. And I feel like it's a cop-out, but I think it's one of the most brilliant answers I've heard, and that I full-heartedly back and agree with. So.
That is
not a cop-out. That is a fantastic answer. And recently you did a challenge called the Valentine's Day Challenge, and it was pretty darn successful. For one, where did that come from? And for two, are you planning on doing a 2018 edition?
I do plan on doing a 2018 edition. It actually came from, I was sitting there. One of the other kind of secrets of my life is my wife and my sister are both born on Valentine's Day. So it's been a big day in my life throughout my entire life, if you will. And I was in the group, and I just asked a question like, "Hey, who's running the Valentine's Day Challenge?" And the Redsmith said, "You are."
And that's it.
And I was just like, "Oh, okay, how did that start?" And I took it on and ran the publicity on it and got it running. And I think it was fairly successul. And I definitely do plan on doing it again next year.
I thought it was great. I remember spending at least a couple hours going through the playlist, and
it was great.
regrettably, I didn't have the time. The time frame just didn't work out for me to do one. But that's why I wanted to know if you're doing it in 2018, so I can, more ahead this time, be sure to get in on it.
So the other part that, and this is kind of in my notes, if I wanted to talk about something, actually, I think here in July, beginning of July to the end of July, I think I'm going to run a skull challenge. And it's kind of bad that Eloy took off, because I really wanted to enlist him to really help me with the process or work with me in any capacity to run the skull challenge, because it's just something that I'm into. I really like a skull themed almost anything. So
yeah, what was that inlaid coffee table? What was it
that
you
was
made?
incredible.
I have a picture of it, and I'm just having trouble remembering it.
Yeah, I did. It was actually my dining table. I took some diamond plate metal and cut it out into a very alienish kind of skull.
Yeah.
And I just, it's pretty stunning. Everyone who sees it just loves it.
Awesome. Hey, Jimmy, excuse me. We got a question from the chat from Simon Harmon, who wants to know what your next tool is.
Ooh.
What do you got your eyes on? Because we all have our eyes on our next tool, don't we?
Whatever his wife will let him have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the next tool that I have on the list is a camera mount, and I think I'm also going to do a weird thing, and it's going to be a personal kind of thing. I think June, I'm going to try and spend no money on my shop or woodworking for the whole month of June. So I really have no idea on tool whatsoever. It's not even on my radar at this point.
So what are you going to do? You're just going to use up whatever you have in your shop to do whatever you want to do, and just kind of get rid of scraps, or what are you looking at?
Well, I'm kind of a weird hoarder where I get these ideas for projects and I end up buying the material before I really plan out stuff. So I have, I think, 20 projects worth of materials and stuff like that ready. So, I mean, it really isn't...
I can relate. It
really isn't a problem on, like... It's actually more about, like, saving money, because at this point, it's kind of becoming an issue.
Isn't that kind of cheating if you spend like the previous 6 months buying things for projects and then saying, I'm not going to spend a penny in June, but I'm going to use all the stuff I've bought up until June.
I'll go with the label of cheater. That's fine.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, that certainly strikes a chord with me, because I'm exactly the same. I'll get an idea for something, or I'll have something left over from something, and I think, I can use that for that project. And I think we've all got the bucket list of projects that we want to do, and it's always, I think, more difficult to find the time to do the video and do the project than it is to come up with the ideas for the projects in the first place. Hopefully people will agree with that. I mean,
Well, no, I'm the same way because I have hardware in my shop for like at least 4 or 5 projects, and it's a little different for me because I get I have the inspiration and I go, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna go buy all this hardware for these projects I want to do, and then
you cut your finger off and you're not allowed to do it.
No, it's not that I'm allowed to do it. It's just that I have a hard time going back, finding that inspiration to do the whole thing again. It's like I was really keen when I was on Amazon and doing things like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun, this is gonna be fun, this is gonna be fun, and then it sits for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then you go, I don't want to do that. I'm just not in the mood. So that's my issue. But I don't know. But yeah, it's a constant problem. I hear you, Jimmy. So you got stuff in your shop that you can do things with for the next month if you want to, without having to go out and spend any more money.
Yeah. And I spend a lot of time talking with Heath Knuckles and a few other people, and they've seen a couple pictures of my scrap bin or 2 that I have, and they're just jealous. They want that. And I'm just like, if that guy wants my scrap bin, that's pretty intriguing alone. Because I do spend a lot of money and get a lot of the hardwoods and exotics that I deal with.
Jimmy, your scrap bin would last me the next 2 summers.
So,
but only one winter because you'd burn it all to keep warm.
Yeah.
So go back to your camera mount that you said you're going to buy. Is that the actual swivel mounting thing, or is that just to hold your Note 3?
Actually, it'll hold my Note 3, but it'll actually be more mounted to my rafters and hang down from the ceiling. And I want something that'll get me more closer inside because I got a tripod right now, and every time I'm like bumping up against stuff trying to get it closer, and I just need something that's way more exotic and way more where it'll just be floating in the air wherever I want it. So I really have to plan that out a little bit.
Jimmy, I've seen your shop progress in a big way over the last year I've known you. But I never once have asked you, what are your plans on YouTube, or where do you see yourself going, if any at all?
I think my first year of YouTube right now, I've played a lot of things very safe. Like the big mallet that I'm talking about now, I think that'll be one of the lower standards of things that I'm going to be doing here in the future. I want to do a lot of big things. I did have a question for Chris because he normally researches my stuff, but I'll just kind of forego the question at this point. I want to get back to the giant mallets. I'm going to probably do some weird wooden daggers or like cake knives, if you will, but they'll be very exotic and kind of medieval, if you will. And then I want to get back to, and this was the thing I was going to ask Chris, was that I started a throne, and I never finished it, and I never really got that, but I really want to go into some of the medieval Gothic kind of approaches, just because that's what really interests me. A lot of the stuff that I've done this last year was like learning how to do some of the processes and work with stuff, and for surely learning how to film has definitely been part of my mentality that I've been going through.
Yeah, that stuff is so way cool, just for people to watch, Jimmy. Because just even that Hell's Pizza Cutter that you did. If nobody have seen the video that Jimmy did a collaboration, and the name of the video is called Hell's Pizza Cutter. You should go look at it. But if you start talking about pure Gothic, it's one story. But there's a hybrid to that. Kind of I don't know. Alan, maybe in a film ways, you can probably maybe help me out with this. There are movies that are kind of an incorporation of between the actual Gothic and then the Hollywood, and then it's not really true Gothic furniture like you would find in a Roman Catholic church. It's kind of a medieval kind of it's got an evil tone to it, but it's really cool looking. It involves skulls and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, man. I mean, if you ask, is that the idea that you're talking about? Was that the direction you're going in?
Oh yeah. The skull chair or the throne thing that I was going to make was going to have a whole lot of ornate skulls and flames and red and black kind of theme to it.
Oh yeah, because you know what?
Be the character who would sit in it would have a couple horns on his head.
Yeah, because you know what? That's a prime way to involve both metalworking and woodworking together, because you can make it really friggin' look hot. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be looking forward to that.
We've got another question over in the chat from Paul Wilmore. He goes, "What's Jimmy's most favourite project?" I'm assuming of your own.
Project. It's the ones that come. The one that I'm working on, the Mortal Kombat mallet, is definitely piquing my interest for what I got to do with the next couple months. If I had to go back to the one that I really think that I did something in for my video and the project itself, my first no lathe pin was pretty much, I think, my greatest success, because it was very innovative and just challenging to do. I think even Eloy, I kind of sent him like 2 or 3 pin kits and a couple of the same pin blanks, and he's just absolutely frightened to do the project because he just doesn't want to handle it in a similar or more challenging fashion. So
I mean, that like I've said it before, that it kind of sums up your whole channel is, you know, doing what interests you, not necessarily what is the current kind of fad or theme across the community, but not making what interests you with what you have. And that makes your channel just stand out in such a way as to make everything, and I mean the whole encompassment of that channel, interesting to a much wider range of people. And you can only just, you know, bow down to that kind of mentality. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And one of the projects I've been working on this week is I rearranged and remixed my assembly table. So I'm going to have drawers on it and shelves and stuff like that. I'm actually really waiting to see how that video does and see how people like my assembly bench, because I've taken it from fairly plain Jane to where it'll be pretty radical, and lots of storage and capacity. So, but that's been one of those projects that has been for necessity. Is that I spent like a year where I've had my empty and bare garage frame, and I've been focusing on projects, doing stupid things instead of doing, you know, like a miter saw station or a storage unit or anything like that. I've focused on like the fun projects. So the last month after I've been back since Atlanta, I've done a tool wall that I unfortunately didn't film, just because those are projects that don't really interest me in film. And then I did film the storage table because I think it'll resonate with a lot of people. But those projects really don't interest me at all. Like, I do watch a lot of those videos that people post, but for me to film it, it's not like on my agenda. So,
well, you've already said you're more of an artist than you are anything else, and so I can imagine why that would probably seem a little mundane to you. But I've got do you play an instrument, Jimmy?
I play several. I did play guitar since I've been like 16 or even 12. So I do love music in that very deep, almost emotional state where I just love how it could just transcend like your emotions. And you could either be more inspired to be happy, or you could be even more aggressive, you know, even angrily. Like I like a lot of heavy metal. And my favorite band is Slayer. And when I get emotionally connected with the music and that, it's, you know, it's not normal day life when you get excited in that sort of way. And, you know, I know it's a like escape from reality, if you will, but music definitely takes me out of the norm. Kind of, it's very.
No, that's a lot of that's a lot how we all use our workshops. I mean, it's a matter. It's a way we keep our sanity, and it's an outlet. And the reason why I asked that is because Jim Bashir has asked if you're still using your veneer guitar picks, and if you are, then how long do they last?
Actually, the strange thing is, even in my veneer guitar pick video, I did one song with the pick, and I set it down, and then I played the rest of the video by hands because I love. It's a weird bipolar kind of thing where it's like Slayer and heavy metal in one realm, and then immediately to classical, you know, Mozart kind of guitar. So, gotcha. I mean, even in that video, I put down the pick and started playing by hand because that's the approach that I absolutely adore and love.
Cool. So Jim, the answer is he still has the picks, but he just hasn't used them, so he doesn't know.
Yeah. It'd be my daughter that would actually be able to answer that question, but she plays with her fingers now, too.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And she's sitting right here. So.
Well, ask her how long they last then.
She plays with her fingers too. What's her answer?
Oh.
So
that's one way to make them last longer, I guess. Ace. So what your next project that you're working on at the moment is the hammer, and then but you're sort of still working on the throne.
The throne thing might be a little ways off because, like I said, I think July will be Skull Month or something like that. That and I have to gather the hardwoods for it because last time I tried doing it in pine or 2x4, and I think I'm going to just jump in and get some ash or poplar or something like that and do it out of full hardwood. So it'll be a very serious investment because I think it'll probably cost me $200 in materials minimum.
Okay, and I mean, I've got also a question now about the materials because you're in Colorado, is that right? Denver,
Colorado.
Did you say? Yeah. You see, my American geography is getting better because I heard you say Denver and I associated that with Colorado. Anyway, what's the availability of materials like in your neck of the woods? Are you tripping over walnut and maple as everyone seems to think every American is, or do you have to drive for 3 hours to find 4x2s, and how does that work in your?
Englishmen would be jealous because I think 5 minutes from my house are two very exotic wood stores that have pretty much a ton of exotics. On my way home from work, there's a hardwood store that has just about everything you'd ever want. I'd say about 60 different species of nice quality hardwoods. And then I have a rockler and a woodcraft in the area. And to boot all that, I ran into an arborist who specializes. He's a turner himself. He does some carving and stuff like that. And the trees that are just locally grown in people's yards here in town, the guy could just get a hold of pretty much anything, but it is very random and chaotic. You got to go like once a month and see what's new. And I think there's even another one of those guys I haven't ran into yet.
Well, to heck with the UK and the rest of the world. I freaking hate you, and I live in the United States because I do not have that resource at my disposal. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting, actually, because you strike me as the kind of guy who builds what interests you using the tools that you happen to have whenever you like, but you are sitting potentially on a gold mine in terms of resources and exotic woods and all the rest of it. And there are guys out, but you don't complain once about not having a tool or I've got to go and buy that. You make do with what you've got. And I think that can resonate with an awful lot of people who may be, I mean, I'm relatively lucky being in pretty much slap bang in the UK. It's kind of equidistant traveling wise. But I mean, Jamie, you're right down on the south coast there. If you want to drive to, into the country, if you drive 40 miles one way, you're on land. 40 miles the other way, you're in.
I'm swimming.
You're swimming, so you're kind of limited in that sense. But, you don't moan about not having this and not having that, and I think that can relate to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So good on you for that, Jimmy. I think that's brilliant. Well, we are currently 10 minutes from the allotted time that Joe will start giving me the evil stares and shaking his fist at me, sitting there nodding. I really, really do not want to end this episode, and I'm going to try and beg Joe for an extra 5 minutes because I know we've got a lot of shout outs to get through, and Jamie's got a few things he wants to talk about. So Jimmy, just to stick with you for 1 second longer, who do you like watching on YouTube? Who have you been watching recently, and who would you like to give a plug to?
Besides everyone on the panel here that I watch all their videos as they come out nowadays, the video that has caught my eye this week is from the Green Beetle, and he started doing some maker interviews. I think he's on episode 2, and both of those guys were on Forge with Fire. Green Beetle himself is more of like a blacksmithy kind of metal worker, and it fits his channel very well, but it's really nice to see some of these people that are like outside of our community and how they think about their long, and the guy this week was a long and lengthy career. So it was really nice to see that outtake from his channel because he does some very good cinematography and well planned out videos alone. But to see him take on an interview like that, it was just one of the best things I've seen like all week. So the Green Beetle.
Excellent. And presumably Chris will be hitting you up for a link to that so we can add it for everyone. That sounds, I've just written that down here actually. Excellent. I'm going to go and have a look at that for that in a minute. So, what about everyone else? What is everyone else up to and watching at the moment? Who wants to start?
Well, let me start.
Yeah, go on, then, Alan.
Yeah, thank you. I'm working on a video with my daughter, actually, for KK Makes Next Generation Challenge. We're making a Connect 4 game, is it called? Or a 4 in a row game, I think they're called. Yeah. It's going really, really well, and we're having a ton of fun doing it. And she actually seems, I hope she's not putting on a front for her old man, but she really seems to be getting into it. And she's even went and started a YouTube channel and wants to start doing like small crafty type projects, which is just awesome.
Awesome.
That is cool.
Let me hit you with a shout out. I'm going to give it to Eloy this week because he made me laugh so hard. Yeah, I left the door open for him. I had to bring him in here to razz on Jimmy a little bit. But give it up for Jimmy. He's got a lot of awesome skull projects and a lot of rustic medieval looking projects. So if you like that kind of thing, go on over, check his channel out. He's awesome.
Eloy is awesome. I've been watching, and I don't know if you guys have seen this guy or not, because he does some really cool stuff. SE Woodworks. Are you guys familiar?
Very familiar.
Yes.
I love that
Yes.
guy. He's amazing.
Excellent.
Man, well, I'll tell you, more people need to be familiar because this guy does awesome work. He just put out a video called How to Make an Inlay Picture Frame. And I'm telling you, this is quality work. And why David Picciuto hasn't picked up his videos and gone and done his makers and shakers thing with it yet, I don't know. But go, if you have the opportunity, go check out SE Woodworks. How to Make an Inlay Picture Frame was his latest video, but go check out his whole channel because he does great work. So, God love you, man. I mean, you're killing it.
Actually, let me jump in on that for one quick second. Him and I are actually doing a collab video on mallets this coming weekend.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
I'll also add on that he was actually in the chat room not so long ago. I think he was in the chat room earlier today, and he actually said he's just recording part 2 of that video of the picture frame.
Awesome.
Yes,
That's very cool. Cool.
Awesome. I haven't seen that. Is that how's he done the inlays? Is that all hand tool work? Is it?
It's all segmented.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not. You go watch his video, Richard. I'm sorry. Put that on your watch list.
That watch list is where videos go to die.
I'm not telling you.
He turned a picture frame on a lathe.
You need to go watch because that guy's killing it, and you need to see it, Richard, because you would be impressed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the thumbnail when we were talking previously, and as soon as anyone says inlay anything to me, my mind goes straight to the router. But of course, that's not the kind of. Cause I'm lazy, yeah, I know. It's the real skill of doing inlays is doing it by hand with hand tools, and I totally get that. So I was interested to see which route that was going, because also if it was router related, I've got something in the back of my mind similar to that myself. But anyway, moving swiftly on. Just so I can go and watch that video now, if nothing else. Chris, Jamie, what are you watching and working on?
What am I working on? I am actually working on a wedding post box still at the moment for my cousin's wedding. So yeah, that's causing me a bit of headache at the moment and rear end ache.
Presumably, this was ordered second class rather than.
Yeah, that's why it's taking so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm working on that at the moment. And what am I watching? Okay, this one, my first shout out, I've actually got a couple, comes with a little story. My first shout out is Martin Saban Smith. The reason being, 20 months ago, he did a project called Golden Fire. And that project was my push over the line in buying a lathe. Well, as I just said, 20 months on, he's revisited that project and he's put a new twist on it with off-center turning and things like that. And he's put burning and colouring and it looks absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, you've definitely got to go and check that one out. The second one is a Canadian maker. He's had a short absence off of YouTube. And he's just made a comeback, and he's also just passed 100 subscribers. So congratulations there. And that's
not Alan, is it?
Yeah, Alan. Yeah. And that one is Comrade Doll. Okay. So, yeah, there you go. There's my shout outs.
Conrad Dole and Alan Robinson. Yeah, I can see the confusion, Richard. I can see.
Close
But
enough.
no, there's a whole Canadian, they all sound alike to me, relatively newcomer, blah, blah, blah.
Tell that to the woodpecker.
Excellent. Joe, save me.
A video that caught my eye this week was from Oprah's workshop, and he's restored his grandfather's spirit level, and that's really what caught my interest, the fact of taking a tool that's got so much history involved in it and giving it a new lease of life and enabling it to last for generations to come. I just think that that's a great way to look at things, instead of looking and think, oh, it's old, useless, just throw it away. It's like, no, you remember everything that tool represents and fix it up and use it even. So it's well worth a watch. There'll be links in the description to check it out.
Wicked. Presumably that's like a wooden one with brass.
Yeah, it's got the brass on the end and stuff. Yeah.
It always amazes me that now that they're all metal, aren't they? Some are machines, some are just kind of box section, whatever. But there's a company in the UK that's recently started making brand new precision ones made out of hardwoods and whatnot. And I had a little torpedo level maybe 6 or 8 months ago now that I was trying to recondition and polish up the brass and all the rest of it, and I spent weeks going around the shops trying to find a bubble, and everyone just looks at you like you're an idiot and it got put on a shelf and it never got finished in the end. So if anyone out there listening knows where to get the bubble for a spirit level, let me know.
If you go in right next to the tartan paint and the skirting board ladders, it's just next to those.
I must have been going to the wrong stores then.
Where I saw the left-handed screwdrivers.
Let's see, that's the one.
That sounds like one of these proper old school sort of
the Leptorium.
Four candles, and I'll have to revisit that one then, I suspect.
And to go and get the O's.
The O's, yeah. Wicked. What have I been doing and what have I been watching? Well, I've been watching not a lot of YouTube, I have to confess. Actually, I had to go back quite a little while to this one, the Banjo Workshop, and I'm sure I've mentioned him before as a shout out, but I really do like this channel. Nice old English, traditional, a lot of hand tooly type stuff. Really nice guy, but he's been making a workbench for his table saw, which I can really relate to because it sort of encompasses that site saw, portable contractor type mid-range cheap table saw, and making it much more useful for a workshop environment with the bench. And actually the technique that he came up with to make the bench top level with the tabletop was not something I'd seen before, and might help a lot of people out because it was really, really simple and it seemed to work great. But I haven't been actually doing a huge amount. I put my back out, of all things, a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've seen me kind of wincing and kind of taking the camera off, but my back is killing me, so it's going to put me right under in terms of deadlines and things I've got to work on. But that's my problem, not yours, I suspect. So we'll see what happens.
We'll send Joe over to give you a nice rub.
That's what happens when you get older, Richard.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was talking to my dad about this today, actually, who is older than I am, obviously, but
I hope.
Being tall anyway, being tall anyway, susceptible to bad things, but all the stupid things I've done in my lifetime and wrecked my back, I'm sure I've got a lot more mileage on it than a lot of people my age, so I do have to be a bit more careful. So that said, we'll kind of wrap things up. Jimmy, thank you for coming on this evening. It has been a pleasure and a joy to have you on as a guest.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna take a punt on this. You are always welcome back as a revisit, because I had a lot of fun. Very interesting talking to you. Has there anyone else got anything to add or ask Jimmy before we start wrapping up and angering Joe?
Yeah, Jimmy, I want a shop sign.
Now, can you put that on your Instagram, social media? Because that is amazing. That is truly amazing. I think we should use that on our as our, like, one of our social media.
Yeah, we should use that for Twitter.
If you'll let us, I think that would be awesome.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
And Joe wants to make you a crown out of milliput, if that's okay.
Terracotta milliput.
Yeah,
A mix of all the colours.
No, it's going to be all black. Sorry.
Awesome. Where can everyone, talking about the social media side and all the rest of it, Jimmy, where can everyone find you if they don't already know you across the interwebs?
YouTube, Shogun Jimi. Facebook, I'm James Jacob. I do have a Shogun channel there. And then also I like Instagram, Shogun Jimi there as well. So those are the three major places I like. I normally filter some of my sneak peek stuff in Instagram. So if you want to see what I'm doing now, that's where it's at.
Brilliant. Well, we'll make sure that who does the whole Jamie, you do the linky type stuff and tagging and social media things. Yeah. You know how that works. Yeah. We'll make sure that we spread all the love for you there, Jimmy. But thanks for coming on. It's been awesome. What about everyone else? Where can everyone else be found, Alan?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook under the Woodworking Junkie.
Thanks, Chris.
YouTube and Facebook under Chris Cute.
Cool. And Jamie?
You can find me on YouTube at JP Woodwork and Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork.
Joe?
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Average Joe's for Joinery, and then Average Joe's Photography on Instagram.
Excellent. Well, again, make sure anyone listening, if you're still listening, you haven't got bored by now, go ahead and check out everyone on their social media platforms, etc. Particularly Jimmy, because if nothing else, you've got to see that sign he made for us. That well, not for us, but our logo that he made. Anyway, it is absolutely amazing. So excellent. I've been Rick Morley. You can find me at brainfizz.uk and under my name on YouTube. Once again, last time this evening, thank you, Jimmy. It has been awesome. And we will see you, listen to you, talk at you next time. So you take care.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
See you next week.
Take it easy, everybody.
Have a week.